Hey guys, welcome back to my kitchen where we are watching court together. Right now, we have a child support case from Judge Webster, one of my favorites down in Texas. Let's watch.
This court's going to call cause number A220591-D. This is in the 128th District Court of Orange County, Texas, and it's in the interest of Ethan James Wright. Miss Wagner and Mr. Wright, would you please raise your right hands? Miss Wagner, I need to be able to see your hand in the air, okay? There you go. You solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I swear.
Yes. Thank you. You can both put your hands down. Miss Simone, you handling this case for state?
Yes, Your Honor.
You have any other witnesses besides the parties?
No, sir.
In case has been called, you can call your first witness.
Before I call my first witness, the state will move for the admission of the genetic test results for Ethan as State's Exhibit A.
Ms. Wagner, I've just placed on the screen a copy of the DNA test results in this case. Can I look at these results?
Yeah.
Mr. Wright, the same question. Is it okay if I look at these DNA test results?
Yes.
State Exhibit A is admitted into evidence. Based on the admission into evidence in State Exhibit A, the court's going to find the alleged father, in this case, Daniel Wright, is found to be the biological and now legal father of this child.
Okay. At this time, the state will call Ms. Wagner. Ms. Wagner, would you state your full name for the court's record, please?
Victoria Ann Wagner.
Okay. And do you have any safety concerns with your personal information being in today's court order?
No, ma'am.
And what is the name of the child we're here for today?
Ethan James Wright.
Okay. And when was Ethan born?
10/7/19.
Okay. How old is Ethan?
He's 3.
Okay. And do you and Ethan live together in Orange County?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Who is Ethan's father?
It's Daniel.
Okay. And when did you tell Mr. Wright that he could be Ethan's father?
We were still dating at the time I got pregnant, so,
Okay. And were the two of you in a relationship at the time?
Yes, ma'am, we were.
Okay. And when did that relationship end?
Not long after Ethan was born. So, he was born in 2019. We broke up, probably December of that year.
Okay. And since that time, has Mr. Wright provided any financial support for Ethan?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Are you asking the court for any back child support back to the date y'all separated?
No.
Okay. Who does your son live with?
He lives with me, my mother, and my boyfriend.
Okay. And how long has
and
he
my
lived?
2 other children.
Okay. How long has he lived with you?
With me, his whole life.
Okay. Who makes
His whole life.
the importance?
sorry?
I'm sorry, the wind's blowing.
Miss Simone, hold on. Miss Wagner, I need you to turn your video off, please.
Turn my video off?
Yes, ma'am. It's done. Go ahead, Miss Simone.
Thank you. Okay. Who makes the important decisions for your son?
I do.
And who makes the day-to-day decisions for him?
I do.
And when did Mr. Wright last see Ethan?
Not this Christmas, but the Christmas before.
Okay. And what is Mr. Wright's relationship like with Ethan?
Not really there. He was more concerned with stuff he had left on my property than the well-being of the child.
And what safety concerns do you have with Mr. Wright visiting with Ethan?
I have a lot of concern,
Do you have a specific concern?
I worry that he might not come back with the child, might take him and go to South Carolina where he's from, and I might never see him again. I mean, the The man once told me how easy it would be to burn down my house and get away with it because it was so old.
How is Ethan covered for health insurance?
His Medicare, Medicaid. I'm
Medicaid?
sorry, I get those. Yes, ma'am, I get those confused. I'm
Okay.
sorry.
I'll pass the witness.
Call your next witness.
I'll call Mr. Wright. Mr. Wright, would you state your full name for the court, please?
Daniel Ray Wright.
Okay, and you are Ethan Wright's father, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And where does your son live?
With his mother.
And who makes the major life decisions for Ethan?
She does.
And who makes the day-to-day decisions?
She does.
And how often do you see Ethan?
She refuses to let me see him. So the last time I seen him was December the 17th of 2021.
And are you currently working?
Yes.
Okay, and where do you work?
PSC Group.
Okay. And how long have you worked there?
I just transferred to this job, so maybe like a week.
Okay. And are you going to be paid hourly or a salary?
Hourly.
Okay. Are you going to be working 40 hours a week?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and how much are they going to pay you?
18 an hour.
And is this going to be is this a contract position?
It's contracted to the Jefferson Power Plant. So I don't.
What type of work do you do?
I unload rail cars.
Okay. And is that the type of work you were doing before this?
No, I was a mechanic before this.
Okay. Do you have any other children under the age of 18?
Yes.
Okay. Is it your did the child live with you?
Yes, I do.
Okay. And is that your biological child?
One of them is, yes.
Just one? Okay. So you just have one other child besides Ethan?
No, I actually have a daughter on the way also.
Okay, but she has not been born, correct?
Correct.
Okay. I'll go ahead and pass the witness.
Call your next witness.
I have no further witnesses.
So, Miss Wagner, Mr. Wright said that the last time that he had seen Ethan was in December of 2021. He said that you stopped letting him see the child. Would you care to respond to that and let me know what happened?
Well, it was, just before Christmas. I decided to let him, come see Ethan. And I hadn't spoke to him for several months prior to that because he left a bunch of stuff on my property. And every time he would call, he would ask only about the stuff. And I'd be like, okay, is there anything else you want to ask me about? Anything at all? He's like, no, that's it. So I wouldn't talk to him. Christmas time, I was like, okay, maybe he's come to his senses, cares more about, his child than junk left on my property. But the very next day, he calls just complaining about all this stuff that I had cleared away, stuff that had been on my property for over 2 years, and stuff that was legally mine now that I had the right to get rid of. And that's all he had to say was just stuff stuff I'd gotten rid of. He's like, I'm not paying you any child support because you sold all that stuff. You got all the money from that stuff. When I just had junk men come and clear it. I didn't get any money for any of this stuff. I'd given him ample opportunity to come and get it, and that's all he seemed to care about.
Miss Wagner,
Yes, sir.
you know the stuff you're talking about that Mr. Wright had and left on your property?
Mm-hmm.
I don't care
I
about
know.
it at all.
I know.
me see
Okay.
if I can make the question a little more specific.
Mhm.
Did Mr. Wright contact you anytime after December of 2021 specifically to ask you if he could have time with Ethan?
Yes, sir, he did.
Okay. And so when he would call you and ask you for time with Ethan, would you tell him no, that he couldn't have time with Ethan?
Yes, sir, I did.
Okay. Why?
Um, because I was just tired of, dealing with him. He'd say, I want to come see Ethan, come
Okay.
and sit with him for 30 minutes. And then it just, I know you said not to talk about it, but it just kept going back to that stuff.
Okay. It's not that I don't want you to talk about it, Miss Wagner. The problem is that I really wanted to hear specific information about why Mr. Wright wasn't getting to spend any time with Ethan. That's the time. See? And so while you made a comment very early in your direct examination that Mr. Wright had not seen Ethan in over a year, it kind of sounds like the reason why he hasn't spent a whole lot of time with Ethan is because you've denied him the right to spend time with the child.
Yes, sir. I just didn't feel safe with him out here.
Okay.
We got into an argument once, and he flat out told me about how easy it would be to burn down my house and get away with it.
Did you call the police, Miss Wagner, and report him for threatening to burn down your house?
No, ma'am. No, sir, because it was.
See,
it
here's
was
the
way
thing,
he
Miss
said it
Wagner.
with him.
I understand people and their fears and being threatened, but I guarantee you that if Mr. Wright had told me how easy it would be for him to burn down my house, the first thing I'd have done was called the police and reported him for a terroristic threat, and he'd have been arrested for that. Okay? That's
Yes,
how
sir.
it works. So if you were really concerned that Mr. Wright was going to go out and come out and burn down your house, you'd have called the police and had him arrested for terroristic threat. Rather than just waiting a couple years later and try to use that against him in my court. That's the problem that I have with it. It's not so much that the threat that he may or may not have made is important, because it is. It's how you responded to that threat, Ms. Wagner. That's
Honestly, sir, I just didn't want to deal with him.
Well, but you have to deal with him, Miss Wagner. He's the father of Ethan. You're going to have to deal with him for the next several years if he intends to be Ethan's dad. Right?
Yes, sir.
I mean, that's just the way it goes, right? I mean, y'all have a child together. You're going to have to deal with him.
I understand. I don't trust him. I don't trust him with my child's safety. He's been diagnosed with ASD, and I don't feel he's
Who is he
mature
that's
enough.
been diagnosed with ASD?
Ethan.
Your son.
Yes, sir. Autism spectrum disorder.
Okay.
And I don't feel.
Do you
Daniel is
believe that the
mature.
fact that your son is on the spectrum, that Mr. Wright doesn't have the ability to care for him?
Yes, sir, I do.
Okay. And what special provisions do you have to make, Miss Wagner, to care for your child that's on the spectrum? What do you do?
Well, he has a speech therapist that comes out twice a week.
Okay. Well, Mr. Wright would have visitation on weekends, so that wouldn't impact Ethan's ability to spend time with his speech therapist. What else?
Well, I've started the paperwork to get him in the school programs.
But you started the paperwork. He's not there yet, so that we're not there yet. What else you got, Miss Wagner?
Besides being basically nonverbal, that's really the only problems that Ethan has. He's very physically capable.
Okay. Your son Ethan is 3 years old, over 3, so 38, 39 months now, yeah?
Yes, sir.
And he's still nonverbal at 38, 39 months?
Yes, sir. He makes a lot of sounds, but there's really no real words yet.
See, Miss Wagner, of all of the things that we have sat here and listened to for the last 30 minutes in this case, that's the first thing that somebody has said to me that I need to really perk my ears up and pay attention to.
Okay.
Right? Your child's just not on the spectrum, ma'am. He's more than 3 years old and he's still not verbal. That's what you're telling me under oath today.
Yes, sir.
Okay. That's very important. Okay. What's the speech therapist telling you? How long has Ethan been going to speech therapy?
About 9, maybe 10 months now. She
Okay.
comes out to the house twice a week on
Right.
Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Sure, I know how it works.
Yes, sir.
So what's the speech therapist telling you?
Daddy's getting a lot better with the, what does she call it? The little board. You know, it says again more. She just told me this morning the ASS board.
Yeah, I know what it is.
He's getting better with doing that. It's more of like he doesn't want to,
Right.
but
Well, he's gonna have his good days and his bad days.
yes, sir.
Right. What county you live in, Mr. Wright?
Orange.
How long have you been in Orange County?
Since I turned 16 and I'm 30 now.
Okay. I couldn't tell from the pleadings, Mr. Wright, exactly what county you lived in, where you did, so I just wanted to make sure you were still close to where Ethan lives, all right?
Yeah. Well, I did go and I stayed with my son and about to be daughter's mom in Lumberton for about a year and a half, but I still worked in Orange. I still had a place in Orange.
So you basically, for the last several years, you've been somewhere around Southeast Texas.
Yeah.
When was the last time you lived in South Carolina?
When I was in a boys' home when I was 16, 15, right before I turned 16.
Right before you came to Texas.
Correct.
You have kinfolk or relative in South Carolina? Do you go back here and visit?
So it's funny that was mentioned. My mom is actually moving down here, and that's the only one that lives up there.
I just asked you a question. Do you have kinfolk in South Carolina? That's
My
all.
mom, yes.
Okay. But you said that you haven't had any contact with Ethan in over a year.
Correct.
Anything further, Ms. Simone?
No, sir.
Ms. Wagner, is there anything else you think I need to know about this case before I make a ruling?
No, sir.
Okay. Mr. Wright, is there anything else you think I need to know about this case before I make a ruling?
Yes.
Yes, sir. What is that?
I have tried to call her and text her, and she doesn't respond at all. When I would ask about Ethan or ask about what they need, during the storms and stuff, I would bring generators and stuff over there for them when we were getting along. And it kind of seems like that she got mad that I had had a child with someone else. And that's when this whole thing kind of turned. Yes, I was concerned about my stuff that was over there because she was selling my stuff. But I was more concerned about my child than anything, but that's not the reason. That's not how it was made to be sounded.
Okay.
I also have a stepson who also has a disorder, and he doesn't speak that well neither. So I know how that goes. And I also just found out last week about Ethan's situation because she hasn't told me nothing. And I didn't want to just show up at her house for sake of argument and something happened where there was any charges or anything pressed on me.
Right.
So I have the messages on my other phone of the green, me texting her and just her not responding.
Right.
So when I got this phone, which is the iPhone 14, I texted her from it and she responded. And then when she found out who I was, which was just 2 weeks ago, she then decided that she wasn't going to text me back anymore. So
I mean, she admits, Mr. Wright, that she denied you the right to spend time with you.
I just wanted to point that out.
I mean, there's no evidence to dispute what you're saying. She admits it.
Yeah.
I can't go back in time and give you that time back, Mr. Wright.
I wish you could, but I understand.
Well, I promise you, Mr. Wright, as much as I really love and respect this case. If I had the ability to go back in time, there'd probably be some other stuff I'd be correcting rather than that.
All right.
All right. But Ethan is important, and he's important to you, and we need to make sure that you have contact rights with your child.
Yes.
But it's been over a year since you've had any contact rights with him.
Correct. And I was the one that actually filed the paperwork to take her to court because she wouldn't let me see him.
Well, you may have requested that with the HE's office, but they're actually the one who filed the lawsuit.
Correct.
So my main concern right now, Mr. Wright, is I need to make sure that you and Ethan get comfortable together again, especially considering that Ethan is a nonverbal special needs child at this time. I mean, he's only 30. So let's be honest about it. I know 3-year-olds that are not special needs that are nonverbal. It's rare, but it does happen. Okay?
Yes.
But I do need to make some special arrangements for Ethan because of that, all right?
Yes, I understand.
So, and is it Ethan's fault that you haven't had time with him, Mr. Wright?
No.
Right. But I can't punish Ethan, now can I?
I wouldn't want you to. He has nothing to do. It's not his fault.
You got it. You see? So when I'm making the visitation ruling in this case, it's Ethan that I have to be thinking about. I
get that.
To go back, Mr. Wright, and make sure that you had your visitation and your contact with Ethan for the last year. I can't, but I can make it so that you do have specific contact rights with him from now on.
And I also understand that there needs to be a transition, more than likely, because he is special needs, that his mother will have to be there for a certain part of it to where he gets comfortable around me.
I'm not going to do supervised visitation.
Oh, well, I didn't know because of the disability thing. I didn't know about that.
But I'm not going to do supervised visits. I don't think they're necessary.
Okay.
I think you're more than capable, Mr. Wright, of keeping the child for a couple hours every other Saturday. Okay? That's what I think. I don't think it needs to be supervised. It may have been over a year since you've seen him, but he's going to remember who you are. He's special needs. He's special needs. That doesn't mean he doesn't have good memory. In fact, from what I know, most special needs children have better memories than most. In fact, that's one of the things they make up for the fact that their verbal is lost. They have great memories. Okay? Autistic children are known for their memory abilities. It's they don't have the ability to express it is the real problem.
Yes.
Miss, based on everything that everybody said here, I'm gonna find that it's certainly in Ethan's best interest for the parties to be named as joint managed conservators of the child, with Miss Wagner as the primary custodian. There'll be no non-disclosure in this case, no retroactive child support. Miss Wagner will be ordered to maintain the current health insurance that she has on the child. Mr. Wright. Mr. Wright is going to be ordered to pay child support as per his wages, $455 a month for child support plus $75 a month in cash medical. I did give him credit for the other dependent that he has in his household. Visitation is going to be pretty simple. Phased in visitation, Ms. Simone, with 0 supervised visits, followed by 6 unsupervised visits for a half a day, and followed by 6 unsupervised visits for the day, and followed by 6 one-night overnight visits. When that last section of one-night overnight visits is completed, then Mr. Wright will have standard possession. If he does each and every visitation that I've ordered him to do in this phased-in visitation schedule, it's going to take him approximately 3 months to do each and every one, which means the child is going to be about 4 years old by the time standard possession kicks in. Mr. Wright will be responsible for court costs, but I'll give him until July 31st, 2023 to pay my court cost. Ms. Simone, did the state of Texas hear all the terms and conditions of my court order?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Wright, Ms. Wagner, what's going to happen now is Ms. Simone's office is going to send me a proposed order based on my ruling today. If it matches what I said here today, I'm going to sign it, get it back to them, and they're going to make a copy of it and send it to each of you. You don't have to be satisfied with my ruling. If either party is dissatisfied with my ruling, you have 3 days with which to file written notice of appeal with the district clerk's office in Orange County. That's 3 business days. Appeal has to be in writing. You got to be specific in your appeal. You got to tell the referring court what part of my ruling you disagree with, and you're responsible for sending a copy of that written appeal to all the other non-appealing parties. Child support March 1st. Miss Simone, if I wasn't clear on that. All right, Mr. Wright, Miss Wagner, I wish you both the best of luck. You're both free to go. Hopefully there's a long enough phased in visitation period for Mr. Wright and Ethan to get to know each other a little bit before he just has, unfettered access through weekend visits, okay?
Okay.
All right, Miss Wagner, Mr. Wright, you're both free to go.
Thought that was a really interesting case. I think it's unconscionable for a mother to withhold a child from a father or another parent, frankly, for their own petty reasons. And I think it's sad. Judge Webster does a great job of people getting their rights, but also I think I get the vibe that he has some autistic people in his spectrum, if you will, because he was very in tune with what was testified to there by the mother about the child's current condition. And yeah, I think it was probably the right call. Yeah. What do you guys think? Let me know down below. I am going to see you in the next video. Have a good night.